press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello students, welcome back to your social science class. Today we are going to continue the chapter social problems. So we finished with child labor. Child labor was a little long, we had to go in two parts. Today we will deal with sexual violence against children. Okay. Now, sexual violence against children is physically using children for somebody else's needs, okay, somebody else's pleasures and desires, okay. A child can be very innocent in those terms, but the child is not aware of what is happening to him or her. It can be both for a boy and a girl. Don't only assume it happens to girls, it also happens to boys, okay. Boys can also become victims of rape, of any other cases, but we most often see only of girls because boys never, whatever happens to boys, nobody brings it into light. So girl child is highlighted, but I want you to know it also happens to the boys, and how cruel men are. Women are also the same in some ways, okay. Both are equally there in some ways. So every child, boy or girl, must be protected. Now for that, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012 is being given. Okay, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences 2012 Act is being given. Now this was actually brought out in 2012 because people around who were framing those laws came and heard about lot of sexual abuse and harassment that was going in and around in public places to children and inside the families also, okay. So most of the times we listen of family members physically assaulting or harassing, sexually abusing, okay, or giving a bad touch, an uncomfortable touch to the members of their family, especially little children, okay. There are different kinds of touches, okay. Sometimes when somebody touches you, you understand whether it's a bad touch or a good touch, okay. So touching somebody is also, you mustn't touch anybody just like that unless that person is very, very close to you. Do not go to touch anybody because they may take it in the wrong way, or you may have no intention sometimes, but they may take it in a wrong way. Sometimes there are people who come with intentions and then you will fall as a victim. So stay away from it and you don't go and touch anybody else, okay. So keep yourself safe, and in and around you, you also stay safe, okay. Now, most of the things that happen in the family go unnoticed because the child fears of that family member. And sometimes there are some parents who are also equally foolish in ways where they shut the child. So parents shouldn't be shutting their child, but rather listen to them, because what the child may be saying may be true. Child will always never lie, okay. It may lie sometimes, but not always. At least sometimes it will say the truth, okay. But when some serious things like these happen, and if the child has said that uncle or that aunt, okay, did something like that, parents must listen, and parents must not say, okay, you're just lying something, that uncle did like that or that aunt did like this, so you just can don't believe what the child says. In turn, what's going to happen to the child? The child is going to suffer psychologically and is not going to be interested in anything else. After that, there is a problem of behavior. Then the parents get irritated and tensed of what is happening. Major problem was where they didn't listen to the child at all. And parents also must be very strict enough, is what I feel, because even if that's their own now, if it is the mother's brother or the mother's sister or the father's brother or the father's sister who has done this, immediate family member also has to be taken into task. It can be anybody, but what they are doing is wrong to the child. So an immediate family member, even if it has done and the child has shown so much of courage to tell it, I appreciate the child, because if the child has had so much of courage to tell you, then you should never let that child down, because the child will fall into a lot of trouble, not in that years, but in the future the child will have a lot of problem with dealing with people and with a lot of relationships that are going to happen. So no child must be neglected like that. And our Indian society is a mixture of families, okay? Parents, most of the parents don't want to listen to their children, and that there lies the problem. Most of the parents are not open about certain issues that they have to discuss, especially with sex education that they will have to give their child. Most parents are not educated enough, or most parents are shy about telling it. What I believe is you should not be shy, because it's a part of life and it goes on. So when a child is educated, the child takes courage in telling what is wrong and what is right. So bad touch and good touch must also be educated to the child. Now where does this happen? When parents become open-minded, when parents are strong enough to fight for the child. Even though if it's an immediate, even if it's the parent's sister or the parent's brother, okay? Sibling for that matter, but whatever is done to the child will become like a trauma later, and that trauma can never be erased. So the right action at the right time is always needed. Now a lot of these things were happening in public places as well as in families, and to give a sight to that, to hold people tight in that way, this Act of 2012 was given. Okay, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act in 2012. Now what does this act say? Okay, you must listen carefully, because it can happen to anybody. It can happen to you, it can happen to anybody around you. So if you are aware, you can deal with it properly. So what does this act say? Any act of unsafe touch. I told you, you must know what's good touch and bad touch. So you don't touch anybody, don't allow anybody to touch you, unless and until it is like a very close member and you trust that person properly. Now we trust family members, and that there lies the problem sometimes, because sometimes family, not all families, I'm not pointing out to all families, but certain families at least will have one or two people who are out of their mind who will do this. So even when we trust family members, we'll have to be very careful with that, okay? Anybody for that matter, don't allow them to touch you unnecessarily, you don't touch anybody unnecessarily, okay? So unsafe touch. If you're not feeling comfortable with that person's touch, they may hug you like that from behind, or may they just pat your back like this, whatever it is, don't allow them. And even if you don't like it, you must be very bold, students, very bold to tell that I don't like what you're doing, and revert back. Give them straight back that you don't like it. Okay, don't keep quiet. Keeping quiet lies the problem. Just never keep quiet for what is wrong. Just say it on their face, and just say it in a way where it is very firm, that they must understand what they did was wrong. Okay? Any act of unsafe touch, exploitation, violence. Now children become innocent at that age. Now here it is mentioned till the age of 18 years, but let us take little children for that matter, and then we'll go about. Now little children, sometimes they give them chocolates and then they just take them. Exploited. Some children are taken away. Some, I will only mention children, because in my consideration it is both boy and girl. Okay, so for all those who think it's only girls, please understand boys are also sexually abused, sexually harassed, and there is a lot of exploitation even with boys. So I would like to prefer and say children. So children who are very small, they are like given chocolates, they are satisfied with all those things, and then like chocolates, sweets, toys or whatever it is, and then they are taken to a place and then they are exploited. They are sometimes beaten up, some children are not looked after well and like kidnapped and gone. Okay, sometimes their children are made to work sometimes places, all form of exploitation. Okay, harassment. Harassment is like, see, there are different kinds of harassments. Harassment may be in this way, if you don't do this, I will do this to you. Or maybe harassing the child, saying that I will do this to your family members or something like that. Okay, harassment in a way. And assault, there is a spelling mistake in the text there. Please correct it. ASSAULT, okay, assault. Yeah, A is missing there. On any children, boy or girl under the age of 18 is considered a sexual offense. Okay. So what has this act said? Unsafe touch, exploitation, violence, harassment and assault. Physical assault, okay, sexual assault, or verbally they say certain things which the child has never heard, okay, some bad words that are to be done, and not good language for that matter, not good language, okay. And boy or girl under the age of 18 is considered as sexual offense, because after 18 you are considered to be an adult and until the age of 18. Now even after 18 there are people who become victims to that. Some people just keep quiet because they have no support, especially from their family. They cannot go back to their parents and say, because parents shame them. When the parents shame them, then that's the only ultimate thing that most of them do, is just shut their mouth and bear whatever consequences are happening. Sometimes some confide into their teachers to help sometimes, but sometimes some teachers are also like their parents, who just while away things and saying that, okay, it's not going to happen, nothing will happen, this was simply, you are assuming all these things. No, it's not like that. Teacher or parent or any person in the society who you seek help for, who you feel that person can support me, if that person loses your confidence or loses your trust, then you will never go back to that person thinking that it's okay for me. But you should never think that it is okay. Anything below 18 or above 18, when it is not your consent, everything is wrong. Okay, consent is your permission. Without your permission, please don't allow anybody to touch you. Okay, so even if they touch without your permission, make sure and make it very clear to them that you have not liked it and they are not supposed to touch you. Okay, so be very clear with your words. Always be very clear. Now, this was brought in June 19, 2012. Okay, June 19th of June 2012. Then they have given certain things which are considered as sexual offense. Now we'll discuss in brief what are these sexual offenses that are there. Penetrative sexual assault, okay. Penetrative sexual assault is a kind of sexual assault or sexual exploitation where the man is trying to penetrate his penis into the woman's organ, okay. So penetrative sexual assault, and it's forceful. It is being done in a way where there is no consent, where there is no permission, alright. So children become victims here because the child is a very innocent being there at that point of time. And if you have heard in the news, now I would like to club these things because I find certain things to be very similar, but I will give you an explanation of everything together, okay. See, what I want you to understand today is, in this class, is you must be open to whatever is being taught to you today, because it can happen to anybody anytime, and listen carefully and also go and make your homework on to knowing more facts about this. So there is nothing to shy about in telling it to you, or nothing to shy about in listening about it, okay? Because we must know, we must be aware of what is happening around us. So someday it may happen to us or it may not happen, but being aware is always needed. So there is nothing shy about in telling, there is nothing shy about in listening about it, all right? So what I was trying to tell you is, see, children are very innocent at that time. If you look at the news around, you see a lot of rape cases that happen, and very young girls are being raped. Okay, boys are also raped. I told you, it doesn't come into light. That's the only problem. And I don't understand the picture of how people can be so cruel in spoiling and exploiting somebody else's body without their kind of permission. And the recent case that happened, it was a very terrible one where they just cut off her tongue, and it was like people have no human values within them, no humanity, absolutely no humanity, lack of feelings for the other being, saying that they also have to live. So this has happened. I'm very sure you must have heard it in the news recently. What makes me think about that is, people are cruel in the world, and there should be like an ultimate punishment to them where they must be forever killed or hanged or whatever it is. They shouldn't live because they don't let others live for it, okay? So we have laws and we have things there for all these criminals also, okay? Next is, see, club, this penetrative sexual assault and aggravated penetrative sexual assault. Aggravated is very forceful, okay? Forceful, and it is not acceptable. See, aggravating, what is aggravating? Aggravating is something that you do more, okay? Basic meaning, a dictionary meaning I'm telling you. Something that you do more, something that you are not acceptable for. So penetrative sexual assault and aggravated penetrative sexual assault is both forceful, which makes the child suffer. Now those organs of the child are still developing. So when those organs of the child are developing, it is way much difficult for the child to take that trauma in, way much difficult for the child to bear that difficulty and the pain, and that is how the child suffers. The child suffers, and when the child wants to go and inform it to somebody else, that person, it may be a parent or anybody, just gives their back into it, and there lies the problem, okay? Now club sexual assault and aggravated sexual assault. See, it can be like some people just through verbally abusing you. Verbally abusing you through bad words. People know all the bad words possible on the earth, but they don't know how to speak good language. Good language is needed. See, I want you to remember, people judge your personality by the way you walk, the way you talk, okay, the way you show your actions, everything, even from far with all your body language, people can make out what kind of a person you are. And when you open your mouth, and if you speak good language, then if your choice of words are good, it's not that, see, you don't know bad words. You may have heard, you know the meanings and everything about it, but your choice of words are good. Then you must respect yourself for it, and others will automatically respect you for what you are. But if there is a person who is coming very nice, neatly dressed, okay, all ironed and pressed neat, but as soon as he opens his mouth or her mouth, I'll put his and her both, okay, both are equally bad in their terms sometimes. As he opens his mouth, he or she, they have nothing but bad words. And with that, there is a negative influence on their personality. So here it can be verbally abusing. Okay, child may not be understanding certain things. At the age of 18, maybe through the exposure you understand, but a very small child may not be understanding. Maybe they may be beaten up, okay, they may be beaten up with certain things around them, maybe with rods that are there, and very aggravated way of having a sexual assault is where their body parts are exploited, maybe they cut it off, or they use certain rods to just hit them or use their body parts in a different way, okay? Or sometimes it can be also in a way where children are taken into a different world where the child is never exposed to and is made to be a part of that sexual environment, the abuse that is happening in and around them. It may not be one child there. It may be many children who are getting abused. I told you it can happen in your family itself. It can happen in and around your neighborhood. Just that people don't tell it to anybody, okay? The day you tell it, it's a shame there. That is why they don't tell. I say, oh, my family will get a bad name. Let your family get a bad name, nothing, but the child is very important there, okay? Because the child has to live for so many years, and if it is lived for so many years, it will live with that in the mind, saying that, okay, that person did that to me. The child will never get near to that person, okay? It's a very bad one. Maybe insertion of rods and other into private parts, okay, exploiting those private parts without the consent is all form of sexual abuse and sexual assault that they do. And the child is a very small being, the body parts I told you are still developing, so it takes a lot of time in order to understand what's happening into your body, okay, inside your body, all right. Next is sexual harassment. Maybe harassing. See, there are some weird kind of behaviors certain boys and girls show. Okay, most of them we characterize it to the boys who whistle around and then who say what kind of, they comment on what your clothing and everything that is there. But we must change our mindset. Girls are also there who do that, okay, who are like trying to be very cool enough, and then, but are in their minds and in their thoughts, they are very bad, okay. So harassment in that way. Harassment can also be by anybody, okay, anybody. It can be your family member, it can be your parents, your own parents, it can be your own teachers, okay. Even when they touch you, if you don't like it, you must open your mouth and say, okay, that you don't like it. And if it's any person, if it is your instructor anywhere, any person who you encounter, they cannot harass you in any way, okay, because you have to be respected for who you are. And every child is important. A lot of children are getting exploited in that way. But things don't come into light. Things don't spread easily. Unnecessary things spread very easily. If you just open that WhatsApp that is there, everything unnecessary forwards come into you, but nothing of use comes into your groups that are there, okay. So next is using children for pornographic purposes, okay. Porn movies that are done, okay, which are not to be, nobody can show that to a child, and it's in India, it is, you're not supposed to see it, okay. There is an act for the child, they called as the POSCO Act, okay. And this act is very, very serious for the child. I'll just find out its prevention of, there is something, okay, I just cannot recall it, but this is the act that is there, POSCO Act, and I'll find out the full form for you in the next class and come back. POSCO Act that is there, this is taken very seriously in terms of children, and anything that is happening can be addressed through that. And this that is there, Sexual Offences Act in 2012. Now using children for pornographic purposes, as in shooting them or using them, and adults using them into having films like that, okay, movies like, clips like that, and then circulating it to others. Or storing, now you have taken a clip of that child along with an adult there, and then you are using it for money anywhere. You're using those pornographic videos for any purpose outside for money, basically for money, by having children in it, then it is against what you have to do, okay. So this is also a kind of sexual offense that is happening to the child. Now, what I want you to understand in this is, you must know your rights properly, okay? And this is a perfect lesson for you at the right time, because I appreciate this lesson to be put in your text, because it really tells you what kind of information that is there. Now, there is a lot of information to know about this POSCO Act. I will surely tell you to you in the next class. Now, if something of this happens, if there is a lot of violence, severe punishment is given to the victim. But when will the punishment be given? When somebody goes and informs them. And I hope you have seen something on child labor which I told you to see. If not, please see it, because when you see it immediately, you remember it better. If you look after it in the end, when you have your boards, you will not remember it at all, and other things also you will forget it. So immediately if you see it, will be registered in your mind. So here, what I want you to keep in mind is, any violence, if it happens to you or anybody else you find in maybe among your classmates, among your friends in the neighborhood, or anybody that is there, take courage and go and inform at least a person you trust very much, if you know that they can help you, okay? Don't go to people who will turn their backs and say, hey, that's nothing, it's happening everywhere, okay? Don't go to such kind of people, they will make it worse for you, but rather go to people who will find out what is actually happening and then inform the concerned authorities about it, all right? So this was what we want to discuss in sexual violence against children. One thing I want you to look up on is, go to the internet and look up for good touch and bad touch, okay? And make yourself very clear about that, what is good touch and what is bad touch, and don't allow anything of that sort to happen to you, okay? So be careful and be safe wherever you are going, okay? Thank you very much for listening. In the next class we shall deal with female feticide, okay? Thank you.